Hello everyone, welcome to Insurance Business TV, and there may be no bigger questions in the world right now than those surrounding the geopolitical landscape. But on the insurance side, how is it impacting business for your clients, and how are you helping? That was the big question we put to CFC, Davies, GBN, Howden, Onda and Coalition.
If I think about what CFC does for a living, we focus on emerging risk, and by definition, the geopolitical risk climate is all about emerging risk. And I think a few areas that are live right now: cyber, increased cyber attacks, nation state attacks, just general increase of cyber activity. We've got products and services that are designed to counteract that. And we've got some really interesting stuff, particularly in the marine war space. You know, it's volatile at the moment. Clients, customers, businesses need that kind of certainty and protection that they can still trade in rapidly escalating risk situations, and we've got products that will give them that kind of protection and security. And I think on the bigger picture, we've just launched a carbon credit product. Think about the geopolitics that sit around climate change. Think about some of the balance sheet risks that businesses have to take on in an increasingly volatile world. That carbon credit protection gives them some certainty as they look to offset some of their carbon emissions into the future. So lots of different things, but emerging risk is what it comes back to.
We're running an incubator for MGAs and brokers, so probably the best way to sort of measure how they're engaging with the geopolitical climate is to think of it in terms of risk premium. And you'd imagine, if you accept the premise that insurance underpins sort of Western, liberal, democratic, open market systems, that risk premium will be on the slide. But we're not really finding that. We're finding that risk premium's increasing. And apart from a few sort of small issues with aviation at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, business seems to be doing quite well, and premiums seems to be flowing. So it's not all bad. But what I would say is that it's getting harder to access that risk premium. And a good example might be Brexit. Often there are far more sanctions being imposed by the US State Department, for example. So it's getting far harder to access that risk premium. So expense ratios are up, but GWP is also up.
The geopolitical risk environment is definitely having an impact on our clients. It's changing insurance needs and also changing the risk exposures facing our clients, both in the UK and overseas. At the moment, the political landscape can change like that, particularly in areas such as Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. It's creating a change in demand for certain products, particularly things like war and terrorism, which at the moment are more relevant than ever when a client suddenly finds that their assets are in a volatile environment. Now, what we recommend to brokers is that they have an ongoing conversation with their market experts to enable them to stay on top of what's happening and to keep abreast of the changes in the geopolitical environment. Our war and terrorism team within our group creates a daily bulletin with what's happening politically and also with regard to war, and that feeds directly into our underwriting system. But what we also do is we share that with our brokers as well, so they can keep their clients updated on what's happening, and that also enables them to advise their client on the right cover that they need to purchase in a particular territory.
It's funny, lots of clients in the UK don't necessarily think about geopolitical risk, but then when you talk to them about the increase in cyber attacks and your increase in marine cargo premiums, and yet then you realise actually so many things are interconnected, and geopolitical risk is affecting so many walks of life, and brokers are right front and centre about trying to solve the problems, making sure that customers buy cyber cover, which has never been more important, making sure that customers buy the right BI cover, and also making sure that all their supply chains are protected.
Geopolitical risk is certainly increasing, and specifically to Onda, this emboldens cyber criminals. All the turmoil that exists worldwide, which is only deteriorating, emboldens these criminals to commit more attacks on a greater scale. So one thing that is divorced from the client's known knowledge base is whether they understand the risk, whether they appreciate that every business, including their own, has a cyber risk and how they can protect against it. So one of the key things that we're driving at Onda is simplification of cyber insurance. So an example, we try to reduce as much jargon, knowing that most of our clients aren't in the cybersecurity domain. They don't understand a lot of the terminology. And beyond that, we also provide complimentary risk assessments to all of our customers. And what this goes to serve, well, it does two things really. It enhances their own cybersecurity because they're aware of the risks, but it also brings that message home that this isn't just a problem that large businesses, large banks, international governments face. Every business has a cyber risk. It's a 21st century exposure that every company has as long as you're using technology. And so it's absolutely critical that you obtain that protection in light of global circumstances.
So the geopolitical arena in cyber has been an area we've seen a large amount of movement in the last 4 years. The war in Ukraine, increased attacks against the UK from China and Russia, but also more recently the war in Gaza and Israeli actions there. So actually, interestingly for us, our Israeli honeypots saw a 5-fold increase in attacks the same day the Iranian missile strikes hit. But when we look at that and helping our clients, most of these attacks are focused on the basic cyber hygiene principles. So the work that we're doing is educating our clients about how to avoid the key areas of attack.